palace has just issued this statement.
In a crowded courtroom, something happened that no one expected. Queen Camilla, who has always stayed calm and strong, suddenly started crying. The reason? Diana's sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, had just shared shocking new evidence. This wasn't just any evidence. It was information that could change everything. The royal family, which had seemed perfect from the outside, suddenly looked very different. As the details were revealed, everyone in the room sat in complete silence, unsure of what would happen next. The truth, something many had kept hidden for years, was finally coming out. It was clear that nothing would ever be the same again. With every piece of new information, the tension grew, and it became harder to believe that the royal family's perfect image could ever be fixed. What came next would leave the world stunned. The storm that's been brewing for decades. Some stories never really end. They just stay quiet, waiting for the right moment to return. And this story, between Princess Diana, Queen Camilla, and the royal family, is one of those. To understand what happened in the courtroom today, we need to go back to the very beginning. When Diana married Prince Charles in 1981, the world watched in awe. She was young, beautiful, and full of hope. To many, she was the picture of a fairy tale princess. But behind palace walls, the truth was very different. Long before Diana, there was Camilla. Charles and Camilla had been close for years. Even after Charles married Diana, their relationship never truly ended. Diana felt it. She knew it. And the pain of that knowledge stayed with her for years. In 1995, Diana sat down for a television interview that changed everything. Calm and soft-spoken, she looked straight at the camera and said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage." It was a single sentence, but it echoed around the world. With that line, Diana pulled back the curtain on royal life and showed everyone the heartbreak she had been hiding. That interview made headlines, but more than that, it made people listen. Diana became known as the people's princess, someone who spoke from the heart, someone who hurt just like everyone else. Her honesty touched millions. Her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, were still very young at the time. But even then, they saw what their mother went through. They saw her sadness. They saw the loneliness. And after she passed away in 1997, that pain didn't disappear. It stayed with them. Over the years, both William and Harry have spoken openly about how much their mother meant to them. They've worked to protect her memory, to make sure she isn't forgotten. For them, this isn't just history. It's personal. Now, decades later, that pain has resurfaced in a way no one expected. A new court case has brought the past back into the spotlight. What started as a quiet investigation has turned into something far more serious. And at the center of it all, once again, is Queen Camilla. What led Camilla to court? The case began with whispers, small details, unconfirmed reports. At first, it seemed like nothing more than old rumors returning. But then new information came forward, information that couldn't be ignored. Someone from inside the royal circle, someone who had stayed silent for years, finally spoke out. They claimed there were letters, audio recordings, and personal documents that showed how Princess Diana had been treated during her time in the royal family. More specifically, these records suggested there had been a quiet but deliberate effort to control how Diana was seen by the public. According to the source, some of the people involved wanted Diana to appear unstable, emotional, difficult, even unfit for royal life. And the name that appeared more than once? Camilla. The documents didn't accuse her of causing harm directly, but they suggested that she may have been part of conversations meant to protect her own image, conversations that came at Diana's expense. Once this information became known, legal teams got involved. Investigators looked at the materials, and eventually, the court agreed there was enough evidence to move forward. A formal hearing was scheduled. Queen Camilla was named in the case. That alone was shocking. For years, she had managed to avoid direct involvement in controversies like this. But now she was being asked to face difficult questions under the full light of the law. Inside the palace, there was clear concern. Efforts were made to handle the matter privately. Meetings were held. Lawyers spoke on her behalf. But none of it stopped the legal process. The case was too serious. The documents too detailed. So despite everything, Camilla had to appear. Not in royal regalia, not on a palace balcony, but in a courtroom, where titles didn't matter, and truth was the only crown that counted. William and Harry take the stand and shake the monarchy. When Prince William and Prince Harry entered the courtroom, there was no royal ceremony, no grand entrance, just two sons, walking quietly, ready to speak about their mother. Prince William took the stand first. He was calm, steady, and clear. His voice didn't shake, but you could feel the emotion in every word. He spoke about Diana not as a public figure, but as a mother. He described how hard she tried to stay strong for them, even when things inside the palace were falling apart. At one point, William said, "We owe it to our mother. She never stopped loving us, even when she felt like the world turned its back on her. Now, we must speak for her." He didn't accuse anyone directly. That wasn't his way. But the message was clear. His mother had suffered, and someone needed to take responsibility for that. Then came Prince Harry. His approach was different. More emotional, more direct. He didn't hold back. Harry spoke about how his mother was followed, how her words were twisted, how she was left alone when she needed support the most. He talked about the pain she carried and the nights she cried behind closed doors. He said, "They tried to silence her. They made her feel like she was the problem, but she was only telling the truth." Then came the real turning point. Evidence was presented. Letters written by Princess Diana herself. Handwritten, honest, and full of emotion. In one letter, Diana wrote that she didn't feel safe. That there were people around Charles who saw her as a threat. She didn't name names, but the suggestions were clear. Another note described how her image was being torn apart. That stories were being planted. That someone was trying to paint her as unstable. Not because it was true, but because it served a purpose. These letters were followed by recordings, short audio clips where Diana described the pressure she was under, how alone she felt, how she feared that even her own words could be used against her. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Camilla. She didn't speak. She didn't interrupt. But her reaction said everything. The crown cracks. Camilla's most vulnerable moment. Queen Camilla is known for keeping her emotions in check. She rarely shows weakness in public. But in that courtroom, all of that changed. As Diana's words filled the room, spoken through letters and recordings, Camilla's face turned pale. She looked down, her lips pressed together tightly. A tissue appeared in her hand. People who were there said she seemed deeply shaken. At one point, she appeared to wipe her eyes. Another witness said she looked as if she might faint. This wasn't the Camilla the public was used to seeing. This was someone who seemed lost, vulnerable, perhaps even full of regret. No one knows exactly what was going through her mind, but it was clear that the words spoken that day had hit their mark. For years, Camilla has lived with the title of Queen Consort. But in that moment, she wasn't a queen. She was simply a woman, facing memories she might have hoped would never return. Her legal team tried to comfort her. They asked for breaks. They requested that certain pieces of evidence be skipped or edited. But it was too late. The truth was already in the room, and no one could ignore it. The image of Camilla leaving the courtroom, silent, tired, and tear-streaked, is one that those present say they will never forget. Not because she was broken, but because for the first time, she seemed fully human. As the court drama unfolds, the consequences of this shocking revelation are far from over. The world will be watching closely as more secrets come to light. Will this mark the beginning of a new chapter for the royal family, or the end of an era? Only time will tell.
I can't mimic voices for love or money. I'm completely hopeless at it. I was a really bad actor at school, and
In a stunning development that has sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace, Tom Parker Bowles, son of Queen Camilla, has been sentenced in a case cloaked in unprecedented secrecy. The ruling, delivered behind closed doors and mysteriously absent from public court records, has resulted in his immediate removal from public life. Palace officials have imposed an extraordinary information blackout, but our sources have uncovered the disturbing reality behind his sudden disappearance. What could the Queen's son have done to warrant such severe consequences? And why has the royal family gone to extreme lengths to keep it hidden? Stay tuned, because this revelation will forever change how you view the British monarchy. The Secret Tribunal. On what appeared to be an ordinary Tuesday morning, Tom Parker Bowles arrived at a nondescript government building in London's diplomatic quarter. Unlike the high-profile court appearances of celebrities or politicians, there were no press photographers, no waiting crowds, just an unmarked entrance guarded by individuals who carried no visible identification, but moved with unmistakable military precision. Dressed in a conservative gray suit with no distinctive features, Tom was escorted through a private entrance and vanished from public view. A food critic and author who had carefully balanced his royal connections with an independent career, his expression betrayed no emotion as the doors closed behind him. Inside awaited what one source described as a tribunal rather than a court. The small windowless room contained only essential personnel. A panel of 3 judges with specialized security clearance, legal representatives who identified themselves only by last name, and a defense team that our sources claim had been appointed rather than selected by Tom himself. This wasn't a legal proceeding as the public would understand it, revealed a source with connections to diplomatic security protocols. This was risk containment operating under the thinnest veneer of judicial process. The charges, while never formally announced, allegedly centered around unauthorized communications with foreign entities, specifically, individuals connected to both international media organizations and foreign intelligence services. According to our sources, Tom had been under surveillance for months after certain patterns of communication raised red flags within royal security circles. It began with his legitimate food-writing contacts, explained a former colleague who requested anonymity. But somewhere along the line, he began exchanging information that went far beyond culinary matters. Information about palace operations, security protocols, and most damaging of all, private communications between senior royals regarding matters of state. What made this case particularly sensitive was the nature of the information involved. Unlike typical royal scandals centered around personal indiscretions, the material Tom allegedly shared touched on the monarchy's relationship with government, the constitutional gray area where royal influence intersects with political power. During the 7-hour proceeding, Tom reportedly maintained the composed demeanor that had characterized his public life. He spoke only when directly addressed by the tribunal, neither confirming nor denying specific allegations. Those present described his bearing as resigned rather than defiant, the demeanor of someone who understood the institutional machinery he faced. The ruling, when delivered late that afternoon, was extraordinary in both scope and severity. While not termed imprisonment in any conventional sense, the sentence mandated Tom's immediate sequestration at an undisclosed location, with no access to communication devices, publication platforms, or unapproved visitors. The official terminology, protective isolation for reasons of national security, barely concealed the reality: permanent removal from public life. As Tom was escorted from the room through a secure exit, he reportedly made a single statement to the senior security official overseeing the operation. "Tell my mother I understand the necessity." This phrase, cryptic to those unfamiliar with royal dynamics, has been interpreted by insiders as acknowledgement of the monarchy's ultimate priority: institutional survival above individual interests, even when family is involved. Within hours, he had been transported from London via military aircraft, his destination known only to a handful of officials with the highest security clearances. The containment operation. The palace's official statement, released the following morning, made no reference to any proceedings. It simply announced that Tom Parker Bowles would be stepping back from public duties indefinitely to address private health matters and requested privacy. The brevity and vagueness only intensified speculation among royal observers. Behind the scenes, an elaborate operation was already underway, not just to manage Tom's physical removal, but to systematically erase evidence of his activities. Teams with specialized training in digital forensics simultaneously accessed his London apartment, office, and country home. Computers were seized, mobile devices confiscated, and physical documents removed. But the operation extended far beyond simple evidence gathering. This wasn't just about collecting materials, revealed a source with knowledge of security protocols. This was about eliminating all digital footprints, scrubbing communication records, and creating an alternative narrative about his absence that could withstand public scrutiny. Most telling was the treatment of his professional workspace. According to witnesses, the office where Tom wrote his food columns and books was not simply searched, but methodically dismantled. Digital storage devices were removed. Reference materials were cataloged and transported to secure facilities. Even seemingly innocuous items like notebooks and appointment calendars were treated as sensitive materials requiring special handling. The thoroughness suggested not just concern about what he might have already shared, but fear about what channels of communication he might have established that remained undiscovered. There was serious concern about dead drops, scheduled information releases, or material already positioned with publishers overseas, explained a former intelligence officer familiar with such operations. When someone with his connections commits to sharing sensitive information, the ripple effects can continue long after they've been contained. This fear drove the next phase of the operation, identifying and neutralizing potential associates. Editors who had worked with Tom found themselves subject to unusual scrutiny. Publishers reported subtle pressure to delay or cancel projects involving him. The pattern revealed a coordinated effort to isolate anyone who might have served as his conduit to the wider world. Digital traces began disappearing as well. His social media accounts were either suspended or suddenly managed with notably different content and tone. Archives of television appearances where he had discussed royal connections became mysteriously unavailable on streaming platforms. Even photographs in which he appeared at royal-adjacent events were quietly removed from official sources and media libraries. Most concerning to those tracking the situation was the treatment of his published work. His most recent food columns disappeared from publication archives. Bookstores reported receiving requests to return unsold copies of his latest cookbook for a corrected edition that never arrived. The systematic removal of his professional output suggested concerns that extended beyond personal indiscretion to something embedded in his public work. The concern wasn't just what he knew, but how he might have encoded that knowledge in his published writing, suggested a literary analyst who had studied similar cases of writers under government scrutiny in other countries. Food writing provides remarkable cover for transmitting information through seemingly innocent references. Ingredients can be code names. Preparation techniques can signify methods of operation. Restaurant locations can indicate meeting points. The royal family fractures. Behind palace walls, Tom's sentence reportedly created the most significant family crisis since Prince Andrew's fall from grace. Queen Camilla, caught between maternal instinct and institutional duty, was described by insiders as outwardly stoic, but inwardly devastated. According to sources familiar with palace operations, she was informed of the action against her son only hours before it occurred, presented not as a request for her approval, but as a security necessity already in motion. Camilla was effectively told, rather than consulted, said one palace source. This wasn't a mother being asked about her son's fate. This was a queen being briefed on an operation affecting the monarchy's security. King Charles, meanwhile, allegedly maintained a more detached position. Sources suggest he viewed Tom's actions through an institutional lens rather than a personal one, as a security breach requiring containment rather than a family matter requiring compassion. This perspective has reportedly created tension in the royal marriage, with moments of strained silence replacing their usually warm rapport. The king sees monarchy as his life's purpose, explained a longtime royal advisor. Threats to its stability override personal considerations, even when family is involved. Camilla hasn't yet developed that institutional callousness that royal life eventually demands. Prince William has reportedly supported the action, viewing it as regrettable but necessary for protecting the monarchy's future. According to palace insiders, he was among those briefed on specific communications intercepted from Tom and recognized their potential to undermine public confidence in royal neutrality on political matters, a cornerstone of the modern monarchy's survival. Most surprisingly, Princess Anne, known for her dedication to duty and protocol, has allegedly questioned the handling of the situation. Sources claim she has expressed concern about the precedent of removing a royal-adjacent figure through extrajudicial means, suggesting that, once we operate outside the law, we undermine the very system we claim to uphold. For Tom's sister, Laura Lopes, the situation has allegedly triggered profound distress. Unlike her brother, Laura has maintained an intensely private life despite her royal connections. Sources close to her family report that she has made repeated requests to contact her brother, all of which have been denied citing security protocols. Laura is essentially being told that any attempt to reach her brother could implicate her as well, revealed one source. It's a cruel but effective method of ensuring family compliance, the implicit threat that concern could be interpreted as complicity. For Queen Camilla herself, the situation has created an impossible position. Sources describe a woman torn between institutional obligation and maternal anguish, permitted no direct communication with her son since the sentencing. All information about his welfare and circumstances comes through official briefings provided by the same security apparatus that engineered his removal. In public, she performs flawlessly, noted one senior household member. In private, the strain shows in small ways. Moments of distraction, unusual irritability, the occasional canceled engagement citing mild indisposition. She's grieving while having to pretend nothing significant has happened.
I'm 75 now, and I can't remember anybody except the Queen being there.
Behind the grand walls of Queen Camilla's estate, a surprising discovery has just been made. The FBI found something unexpected, something that has everyone talking. It wasn't a part of their plan, but now it's raising big questions. What could be hidden in a place so closely watched? Why did the FBI need to look there in the first place? This discovery isn't just about a famous person. It's about secrets that could change how people see the royal family. The peaceful image of the palace now has a shadow hanging over it, and no one knows what might happen next. As more details come out, the mystery grows deeper, and the line between what we think we know and what is really true starts to blur. Why is the FBI involved? Now, this is the first question everyone is asking. Why is the FBI, an American agency, even looking into something that happened at Queen Camilla's estate? It sounds crazy, right? But once you hear why, it starts making a lot more sense. Sources say the reason is because this case might not just be a simple matter happening inside the UK. There are possible signs that this whole thing involves crimes that stretch across different countries. That means the crime doesn't stop at the royal estate's gates. It could involve things like money laundering, international fraud, or even cyber crimes. And if any of these crimes link back to American citizens or companies, then yes, the FBI has every right to jump in. There's also talk that the FBI is working hand in hand with the UK's National Crime Agency, also known as the NCA. Now, this is not the first time these two powerful agencies have worked together. Whenever things get messy and international, both countries' top crime fighters join forces. That's what seems to be happening here. But the fact that the FBI is digging into royal matters? Yeah, that's what's making the world stop and stare. But what really brought the FBI here? That part is still a mystery. Some reports suggest a whistleblower stepped forward. Maybe it was a staff member, someone who worked inside the estate, or someone who saw something they just couldn't ignore anymore. Other reports say there were leaked documents, secret papers, hidden emails, or financial records that suddenly appeared and raised a whole lot of questions. And believe it or not, the FBI does sometimes investigate powerful people in other countries. They've looked into politicians, business tycoons, and even royalty-related cases before. So, while it's rare, it's not impossible. But seeing the FBI involved in the British royal family's business is something no one expected. What was discovered? All right, now let's get into the part everyone's waiting for. What did the FBI and NCA actually find? Let me tell you, the reports are shocking. Sources say during their search, investigators stumbled upon financial documents that were hidden away. And we're not talking about some old bills or shopping receipts. These documents are believed to show connections to secret offshore accounts. Now, if you don't know what that means, offshore accounts are usually bank accounts in foreign countries where people hide their money. Why? So they don't have to pay taxes or answer tough questions. The question now is, why would anyone in the royal family need offshore accounts? And how much money are we talking about here? Some people are whispering that it could involve millions, maybe even billions of dollars, but that's not where it ends. Investigators also found rare artwork and expensive jewelry hidden inside the estate. And here's the kicker. Some of these items might actually be stolen or belong to other countries. There are even rumors that a few pieces were supposed to be in museums, not locked away in some secret royal room. If that turns out to be true, it could spark huge international fights over who owns what. What's even crazier is that reports claim the FBI found encrypted hard drives. That means the data on those drives is locked up tight. Super secure, like in the movies. They also discovered secret safes and even hidden rooms that most people didn't even know existed. And here's where it gets really wild. Some leaks suggest those encrypted files might contain secret communications, messages with people who are already being investigated in the US. Can you imagine what's in those files? Private deals, dark secrets, maybe even conversations that could destroy reputations forever. Of course, all this has turned the internet into a complete circus. Theories are flying left and right. Some people say there are royal secrets buried so deep that if they come out, it could bring down the whole monarchy. Others think it might be connected to old scandals that are about to resurface. But here's the thing. None of this is fully confirmed yet. Most of these details come from leaks and rumors. Still, that hasn't stopped the media from going wild. Headlines are popping up everywhere, and the story is getting bigger. Every single hour. Impact on the royal family. As expected, the royal family's reaction so far has been complete silence. Not a word from Queen Camilla, nothing from King Charles, and absolutely no official statement from Buckingham Palace. But sometimes, silence is louder than words. And right now, that silence is making everyone even more suspicious. The British press is going crazy over this. Every single news channel and tabloid is covering the story. Reporters are camped out in front of Camilla's estate, hoping to catch even the smallest glimpse of what's going on inside. And let's not forget, Queen Camilla has always been a controversial figure. Ever since her relationship with King Charles went public, she's faced heavy criticism. People have called her names, blamed her for the breakdown of Charles and Princess Diana's marriage, and questioned her place in the royal family. Now, just when things were finally settling down for her, this happens. If these discoveries turn out to be true, it could destroy Camilla's reputation completely, and it won't stop with her. The whole royal family could suffer. People are already asking, could this hurt King Charles's reign? Could it be the final straw that breaks the public's trust in the monarchy? After all, the royal family is supposed to stand for tradition, honor, and duty. Scandals like this could make people question why the monarchy even exists anymore. Global and political implications. And it doesn't stop there. This whole mess could also turn into a massive political problem, not just for the UK, but for the United States too. Think about it. The FBI is investigating Queen Camilla. That's huge. What happens if the US finds evidence that forces them to take action? Do they arrest someone from the royal family? Do they drag them into court? And how does the UK respond to that? There's already talk that this could lead to serious diplomatic trouble. Politicians on both sides are scrambling, trying to figure out how to handle this without turning it into an international disaster. The UK Parliament might even get involved. Some members are already calling for investigations. Others are demanding answers. And it's not just the UK. Other countries are watching this very closely. Because if one royal family is hiding things, maybe others are too. This could open the door for global investigations into royal finances. Who knows what else might come crawling out once people start digging. Possible scenarios and theories. Now let's talk about the theories, because trust me, there are plenty. And some of them sound like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. The first theory that's blowing up online is that this could be linked to massive blackmail rings. The kind of thing we saw with Jeffrey Epstein. People are whispering that maybe, just maybe, there are connections between the royal family and powerful people hiding dark secrets. Another theory is that this is all about money laundering, that maybe royal estates like Camilla's are being used to clean dirty money. If that's true, it could explain the offshore accounts and the hidden art and jewelry. Then there's the theory that someone planted all this evidence, maybe enemies of the crown, people who hate the royal family, staged the whole thing just to destroy their reputation. It wouldn't be the first time powerful people were set up. And of course, there's always the chance that this is just one big misunderstanding. Maybe the documents were fake. Maybe the jewelry was legally owned. Maybe the media took a small story and blew it up into something huge. Honestly, it's hard to know what's real right now. The internet is full of rumors, and everyone's got their own theory. What do you think? Could it be blackmail? Money laundering? Or is it all just media hype? I'd love to hear what you guys think.
The role of public opinion cannot be ignored, as Charles's popularity has fluctuated over the years. Some have suggested that the king may have felt that stepping aside was in the best interest of the monarchy, allowing Prince William and his wife, Catherine, to take on more prominent roles. The abdication of King Charles III has thrown the royal family and the nation into a state of reflection and uncertainty. This decision, rooted in a complex mix of personal, familial, and public considerations, is unprecedented in the modern era. While the monarchy has weathered many storms, this particular event signifies a turning point that may redefine the future of the British royal institution. In the weeks leading up to the abdication, there were subtle signs that all was not well within the royal household. Close observers noted a shift in Charles's public demeanor. His appearances, once marked by a sense of duty and tradition, had become more subdued. Behind the palace walls, the weight of the crown seemed to be taking a toll on him. Although no official statements were made at the time, there were whispers of the king grappling with the demands of his role, compounded by concerns over his health and the increasingly complex political landscape in the UK. Reports have surfaced indicating that King Charles sought counsel from his closest advisors, including senior members of the royal family and trusted confidants. The discussions were said to be intense and fraught with emotion, as Charles weighed the responsibilities of his position against the realities of his personal circumstances. It is believed that he considered all possible outcomes, including the impact his decision would have on the monarchy, his family, and the nation. Ultimately, it seems that the king reached the conclusion that stepping down was the most responsible and dignified course of action. For Queen Consort Camilla, this period has been particularly challenging. Known for her resilience and quiet strength, she has always supported Charles through the ups and downs of public life. However, the prospect of him relinquishing the throne has reportedly shaken her deeply. Camilla's emotional response highlights the personal sacrifice and the human aspect of what is often seen as a purely institutional matter. The tears she has shed reflect not just her concern for Charles, but also the enormous changes they now face as a couple, transitioning from the roles they have both prepared for over many years. The royal family, now faced with the task of navigating this transition, is likely to undergo a period of internal realignment. Prince William, who has been steadily preparing for his future role as king, will now have to accelerate his readiness to assume the throne. William's ascension is expected to bring a new energy and direction to the monarchy, one that aligns with the expectations of a modern, diverse Britain. However, this transition will not be without its challenges. William will need to strike a delicate balance between honoring the traditions of the monarchy and embracing the progressive changes that many believe are necessary for its survival in the 21st century. As the nation processes this seismic shift, reactions have been mixed. there is a sense of sadness and nostalgia among those who have supported King Charles throughout his life, recognizing his dedication to his duties and his efforts to address contemporary issues such as climate change and social inequality. Yet, there is also a sense of cautious optimism as people look to the future with Prince William at the helm. The British public, while often critical of the monarchy, also holds a deep respect for its continuity and the symbolic role it plays in national identity. The coming months will be crucial in determining how this transition is received and what it means for the monarchy's relevance in a rapidly changing world. Internationally, King Charles's abdication has sparked a wide array of responses. Royal families across Europe have expressed their support and solidarity, recognizing the difficult decision Charles had to make. The bustling streets of Brick Lane fell silent for a moment as King Charles III stepped out of his sleek black Range Rover. The monarch, known for his reserved demeanor, was about to embark on an unexpected adventure that would set social media ablaze and capture the world's attention. As King Charles walked into the modest Bangladeshi restaurant, Gram Bangla, nobody expected what was to come next. What happened after King Charles walked into this foreign restaurant, and what did he do? Join us as we explore exactly what happened right after. King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla made an unexpected visit to Gram Bangla, a Bangladeshi restaurant on Brick Lane in East London, known for IBT's many curry houses and cultural diversity. On a February afternoon, the royal couple's arrival surprised both the patrons of the Bangladeshi place and the staff working there. King Charles, dressed in his characteristic suit, created a welcoming and approachable atmosphere that was different from what one would expect from royalty of his status. As he interacted with those in the restaurant, the initial shock of his presence quickly wore off among both diners and employees, turning into excitement among everybody present. What happened next would end up captivating the entire nation. King Charles, known for his reserved demeanor, engaged effortlessly with the restaurant staff and patrons. He exchanged pleasantries with the owner, Shams Uddin, who has been serving the community for over 2 decades. The king's actions at the venue showed a genuine interest in the restaurant's history and cuisine. The highlight of the visit came when the king, in a moment of spontaneity, as he approached the counter, had his eyes light up with curiosity. "What's that you're making?" he inquired, gesturing towards a blender in operation. The young server replied, "It's a mango lassi, Your Majesty." Taking an action that was as unplanned as it was surprising, Charles asked if he could try his hand at making one. The restaurant staff, too stunned to do anything but nod, watched as the King of England rolled up his sleeves and stepped behind the counter. The sight of the monarch performing this everyday task struck a chord with onlookers, who captured the moment on their phones. As news of the royal visit spread, social media was quickly flooded with takes and opinions. Videos of King Charles making a mango lassi were being circulated widely, and they were accompanied by popular hashtags. The sight of the king taking part in such a mundane, everyday activity struck a chord with people around the world, as it showed a more personal glimpse of the king than his typical formal appearances would. What began as a brief stop on a tour of East London soon became a viral sensation. The visit to Gram Bangla had somehow revealed a different side of King Charles.
Prince Harry speaking out in a really revealing new interview.
You didn't believe she was dead?
I just refused to accept that she was gone. Part of, she would never do this to us, but also part of, maybe this is all part of a plan. I think she would be sad. I think she'd be looking at it long term, to know that there are certain things that we need to go through to be able to heal the relationship.
Do you remember the popular tragic car crash that happened in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel?
Thursday marks 20 years since Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel.
Yes, we're talking about the one that claimed the life of Princess Diana. Do you know the incident has been shrouded in mystery and speculation? Well, not anymore, as the truth has finally been revealed, and it has been all we have been suspecting about. Prince Harry's revelation about his mother, Princess Diana, has stunned the world. In an unexpected move, he confirmed the long-standing theories suggesting her tragic death was not an accident, but an orchestrated inside job.
Shocking allegations about Princess Diana's death. Authorities now reviewing the new and sensational claim that she was actually murdered by the British government.
This admission has sent shockwaves globally, igniting debates and discussions everywhere. Stay with us as we delve into one of the most heart-wrenching events in modern royal history: the impact of Prince Harry's revelation. The British royal family, already under intense scrutiny and criticism for various reasons over the years, is now faced with a new wave of skepticism and distrust, with the public and media frequently asking several questions such as, how far does the involvement of the establishment go, and to what length they would go to protect their interest? The idea that a member of the royal family could be targeted in such a manner by those living within the same circle is deeply unsettling if we're to be unbiased about it, and this act raises ethical and moral questions about the length power can corrupt.
With Prince Harry's tell-all memoir dominating headlines, it's hard not to wonder if the royals can survive the latest scathing attack.
However, Harry's revelation challenges the narrative that has been upheld for decades. The official story had initially provided a sense of closure, although it was a painful one to the millions of people who mourned the late Princess Diana. With Harry's new information, the public is forced to revisit and reassess their understanding of the events. It was a jarring experience, as many had come to terms with the tragedy based on the information that was previously available. Well, that was the case until recent times. Now they are confronted with the possibility that there was a deliberate and malicious intent behind the loss of a figure who was not only a royal icon, but also a humanitarian and a beloved public personality. But wait, there is more to Harry's revelation.
Prince Harry says he held on to hope that Princess Diana was secretly still alive, long after her passing.
Harry's admission didn't just come at the cost of revealing the truth behind Princess Diana. He also used the medium to express concerns about his personal life and the struggles he has been going through within the royal family. Harry is known for his willingness to speak out. Harry has always been seen as a rebel, a person who is unafraid to challenge the status quo, especially his decision to break away from the royal family and relocate to the United States with his wife Meghan Markle was simply a clear indication of his desire to forge his path.
A royal reversal from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They are stepping back from senior roles in the royal family. Harry and Meghan say they will work to become financially independent.
From Harry's revelations, it is evident that his actions were driven not just by personal choice, but also by a deep-seated to uncover and confront the truth about his mother's death. Even though his relationship with the media is complex, Harry is looking to set things right. So what are the revelations about Princess Diana Harry seems to know about? And is this move the preferred option for Harry? Then pay attention if you care to know more. The world's reaction to Prince Harry's revelation has been one of shock and disbelief. The whole world is talking about it. Social media is in a frenzy state, with each user to their own opinion, debates, discussions, and expression of their outrage and sorrow. Princess Diana was loved by everyone, and when the news about her passing in that crash it sent everyone into a cold state as they mourned her.
As dawn breaks on the day of Princess Diana's funeral, the crowds are already gathering on the streets of London. 20,000 extra policemen and women have been drafted in to monitor the crowds.
Prince Harry's statement could potentially prompt a reinvestigation into Princess Diana's death, and if those responsible are found wanting, the public isn't looking for this case to be taken lightly. We don't care how powerful or influential whoever is responsible for this may be. They can't go unpunished. One user said, "Princess Diana was an icon, admired and beloved by millions around the world. Her humanitarian work and compassionate nature endeared her to people far beyond the confines of the British Commonwealth. So the revelation about her death, being an orchestrated act and not an accident, will undoubtedly shock and dismay her global admirers, and can even lead to international calls for justice by countries with close ties to the British monarchy, such as Australia, Canada, and New Zealand." For historians and scholars, Prince Harry's admission opens up new avenues for research and analysis.
I don't think she believes too heavily in instruction. She believes in finding your own path, but with very good examples and guidance around you to support you.
She worked in the royal palace a very long time ago. She was just a young maid then, quiet and careful, always watching, always listening. She saw things most people never see. She cleaned the rooms, folded the clothes, and walked the same halls as kings, queens, and princes. For many years, more than 60, she stayed silent. She never told anyone what she saw or heard, not a single word. Now she's 85 years old. Her voice is shaky, her hands are slow, but her memory is still sharp. And now, after all this time, she's ready to talk. What she says about Prince William is not nice. It's something the royal family never wanted the world to know. Something they hoped would stay hidden forever. But secrets don't stay buried forever. And the truth, once spoken, can't be taken back. Who is this former maid? She was just 17 when she first stepped into the gates of Buckingham Palace. It was the late 1950s, and she had come from a small village, nervous but hopeful. She never imagined she would spend the next 4 decades living among royalty, quietly observing the lives of kings, queens, and future heirs behind the velvet curtains. In the beginning, she started as a junior maid. Her job was simple: clean rooms, polish silver, and follow the rules. And there were many, but she did it all with quiet pride. Over time, she earned trust, not just from her managers, but from the royals themselves. They noticed how she never gossiped, never looked for attention, and never stepped out of line. Eventually, she was moved to Kensington Palace, where she worked closely with Prince Charles and, later, Princess Diana. She saw the royal family not just as names in the news, but as real people, flawed, stressed, and often lonely. She even saw the young princes, William and Harry, grow from toddlers into young men. Her name was never in the spotlight. She never sold a story. For over 60 years, she kept everything to herself. But now, at 85, she says she's tired of holding it all in. She says people deserve to know the truth, especially about Prince William. Her relationship with Princess Diana. Of all the royals she served, she says no one touched her heart quite like Princess Diana. Diana was kind, gentle, and full of heart. Unlike others in the royal family, she treated staff like people. The maid remembers that Diana would often stop her in the halls and ask about her day. She would notice if someone looked tired or sad. "Are you all right?" she would ask, even when she herself wasn't. One evening, Diana came into the staff laundry room. It was late, and the palace was quiet. She sat down beside the maid and asked if she could just talk for a bit. The maid offered her a cup of tea, and for the next hour, Diana opened up. She talked about how hard it was to live under constant pressure. She talked about her troubled marriage, about how she sometimes felt invisible in a palace full of people. "She told me once," the maid remembers, "sometimes I feel like a bird in a cage, and she meant it. She felt trapped. Diana didn't trust many people, but for some reason she trusted this maid. Maybe it was because she never asked questions. Maybe it was because she listened without judgment. Whatever it was, Diana found comfort in her company. She also saw how much Diana adored her sons. William and Harry were her world. Diana would always remind the staff to treat them like normal kids. No royal rules with them, she would say. Let them play. Let them be messy. The maid was there during bath time, mealtime, and quiet story time. She saw how Diana held them, kissed their foreheads, and whispered how much she loved them. Those were the good days. But they didn't last forever. The early years of Prince William. To the maid, Prince William was always the quieter of the two brothers. He was sweet, observant, and had a kind little smile that melted hearts. He liked to watch people more than talk. He was always listening, always noticing things. He was a gentle boy, she recalls, shy but thoughtful. He'd ask me where I came from, or if I missed my family. He once gave me a drawing he made, a little house with a garden. I still have it. William was deeply attached to his mother. When Diana was around, he seemed lighter, more joyful. He would cling to her hand or sit in her lap even as he grew older. You could see how safe he felt with her. But even then, the maid noticed something. William wasn't just a child. He was aware. He knew when there was tension in the air. He'd look around the room during adult conversations and pick up on emotions, even if no one said a word. He was always watching, she says. Always. He was a prince, yes, but also just a little boy trying to find his place in a very strange world. And then, the unthinkable happened. The turning point. Everything changed on that summer night in 1997, when Princess Diana died in a car crash in Paris. The palace went quiet. The world mourned. But no one felt it more deeply than her boys. The maid says she saw the shift in William almost immediately. Something went cold in him, she says. He still smiled for the cameras, but inside, something shut down. He became more guarded, more serious. He didn't talk as much. He no longer asked the staff how their day was. The little boy who once made silly faces in the hallway now walked with his head held high, but with no spark in his eyes. She believes it wasn't just grief. It was survival. William was being trained, molded. He was going to be king one day, and now, without his mother, the firm tightened its grip. He started to resemble his father, she says softly. Not just in how he looked, but in how he acted. There was less warmth, less kindness. Staff were told not to speak unless spoken to. The distance between him and the help grew wider, and though he was still young, it was clear, William was changing. Her claims about Prince William as an adult. What the maid shares now is difficult for her to say. She doesn't speak out of hate. She says she still remembers the boy who gave her drawings. But the man he became, she says, is very different. According to her, Prince William has a short temper. She says he doesn't like to be questioned, that he expects total control and complete obedience. She recalls moments when he snapped at aides behind closed doors. He would raise his voice, she says, call them useless, sometimes over small things, like being handed the wrong pen. She says he carries a sense of entitlement, a belief that things should be done for him without delay, without error. And when they're not, he doesn't always react kindly. The maid doesn't say he's evil or cruel, but she believes he's become someone hardened by duty, by pressure, and by the royal system. He's unreachable now, she says, emotionally closed off. It's like he's built walls no one can get through. She believes part of it is fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being seen as weak. But in protecting himself, she says, he's become cold to those around him. He wears the mask of charm in public, she explains. But behind the curtain, the prince can be very different. It's a tough thing to say. But after years of silence, she says it needs to be heard. Why she stayed silent until now. So why didn't she speak up earlier? The maid says the answer is simple: loyalty. She loved Diana, and out of respect for her, she never wanted to say anything that might hurt her sons. I promised myself I wouldn't betray her, she says. Not while they were still growing. But now she's 85. Her health isn't what it used to be. She spends most of her time in a small cottage, alone with her thoughts. And lately, those thoughts have become too heavy to carry. I have nothing left to lose, she says quietly. And I think people should know the truth. Not the version of the royals they show on TV. The real version. The human version. She doesn't want fame. She doesn't want money. She simply wants to tell her story. The story of a boy who lost his mother, who grew up in a palace, and who, somewhere along the way, may have lost a part of himself too. The silence is broken, and what's been said can't be unheard. Whether it changes anything or not, one thing is clear. Some truths take a lifetime to surface.